Hi everybody, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Claire and I'm a curator of education with the Detroit Zoological Society, where we are celebrating and saving wildlife. And today I want to help you think about some things that you might have around the house that may have lost their original purpose, or you don't need them for their original purpose anymore, and find a way to make them repurposeful again. So today we're going to start with coat hangers, clothes hangers. We recently went through the closets here and ended up donating a bunch of clothes that either don't fit anymore or we just don't wear anymore. And we ended up with a bunch of extra hangers. And at the same time, we actually changed over our hangers to be all the same in our closet. So we ended up with a lot of these extra plastic white hangers. And I wasn't really sure if they could go in the recycling bin, and even if they do go in the recycling bin, that takes a lot of effort to turn them into something new. And I definitely didn't want to put them into the trash bin and to the landfill. So I started looking around online to think of something else I could do with these hangers that would be fun and purposeful and keep them out of that waste stream. So today I'm going to share with you that project that I decided on and show you step by step how you could do the same thing to convert these hangers into something repurposeful. Here are the materials you're going to need. You're going to need 4 of these coat hangers, any color if you're going to paint it, or all the same color if you're not. You're going to need some zip ties or twine or ribbon, or I also use some twist ties from a loaf of bread to adhere things together. The zip ties work really well because they're durable and they last for a long time, especially if they're outside. So I did use a couple clear ones and then some black ones. I used a drill, a pair of needle nose pliers with a wire cutter on them to trim off those zip ties, and I found some leftover paint in a spray can downstairs, and it just happened to be a great color, and there was only a little bit left in the can, so I could use it up for this pretty small project. This is how you're going to lay out your hangers. You're going to overlap the ends and overlap all the middle points there in one spot, and you're going to start to secure the different portions of them together. I'm going to use those twist ties from the loaves of bread to put together the tops of the hangers on the side of the wing. And here's a close-up of what that looks like. So now those are all secure on the outsides. So my next step is going to be to overlap all 4 of those middle pieces. And then I'm going to drill a hole through the middle of them with the drill. You have to be kind of careful with this one to make sure you're using the drill appropriately. And fortunately for me, there was a little indented circle in the middle of each of my hangers, so it made it really easy to drill them all in the exact same spot. And I put a hole that was just slightly smaller than the thickness of my zip tie. And then I took my zip tie and I poked it through the bottom of them, used my pliers to pull it through each different level so they're all nice and snug together. And once I got them all through, I pulled the zip tie closed, pulled it really nice and tight, and then trimmed that off so now they're all snug and together. And I'm going to lay this on top of a piece of plastic, a plastic bag that I had downstairs, and I'm going to use that so when I spray paint it, I don't get that spray paint all over the lawn because we don't want to do that. So here we are spray painting it. Again, it doesn't take a lot of spray paint, and it actually dried pretty quickly because it was nice and not humid outside today for a change. And then I flipped it over and painted the other side. The paint drying was honestly the longest part of the whole project. So I started looking around the house for something to use as a body, and I found an old vacuum cleaner tube for a vacuum that we don't have anymore. And then I used some of those black zip ties for antennas, and I hot glued them inside the top of the tube. And then I laid the tube on top of the body. It's just the perfect size. So I got out my black zip ties, and that's what I'm going to use to adhere the body to the wings. And as I flip it over here, you can see how I crossed them over the 2 different wings, top and bottom. Again, I pulled those nice and tight and snug, so they were firmly secured. And then I used my pliers to trim off the ends so they would stay attached. I hunted around in the garage for a minute, and I found a piece of old re-rod that I use for my scarecrow that I put up each fall, and I put it in the garden. And I slipped the vacuum tube right on top of it, right in the middle of my garden next to my bird bath. And this is what it came out to look like. So right here behind me is the finished product. And from start to finish, if you exclude the amount of time it took for the paint to dry, it probably took me about 10 to 15 minutes. And all of these things were items that I already had around the house that either didn't have a purpose or were looking for a second use, or were materials that I have readily available. And you don't have to use all the same materials I used. Use whatever you have around that fits the bill and makes you happy. These could take on a bunch of different colors, shapes. You could use a lot of different things for the bodies and or the antennas, or even to put them out in your garden or yard once you're done with them. And I'm really excited how this turned out. I'm really glad that I had that color paint around the house that I did, because it stands out really really nicely against all the rest of the flowers in my garden. And I'm really excited to see if any birds choose to land on it to rest for a minute, or butterflies or bees stop by to visit. So thanks for joining me today for some virtual vitamin Z as we think about repurposing things that are in our lives, keeping them out of the waste and recycling streams. If you're looking for more virtual vitamin Z, go to DetroitZoo.org. We have lessons, activities, more videos, lots of different things for you to explore and learn more about the Detroit Zoological Society's mission of conservation, sustainability, and animal welfare and humane education, and other topics. So thanks again for joining me. Until next time, stay safe and take care of each other.